I remember the exact words. Her voice was soft, rehearsed, trembling at the edges. "Dad, it's just not working anymore. Mark thinks it's too much. Another mouth to feed, the bills piling up, we need our own space." Another mouth to feed. That's what I had become to my own daughter. Not a father. Not the man who raised her, who tucked her into bed when nightmares clawed at her. Just weight. Just a burden. I didn't fight. I picked up my worn suitcase, nodded once, and walked out. I didn't even look back when the door shut behind me. But inside, something broke. And then, something else hardened. She wasn't always like this. I remember the little girl who used to run to me at school gates, tiny arms wrapped tight around my neck. She trusted me with scraped knees, secrets, the monsters under her bed. I carried her world on my shoulders. And when her mother left, I became both parents. I worked 2 jobs, missed meals, sold the car, all so she wouldn't feel the hollow weight of absence. She swore she'd never forget that, swore she'd stand by me as I stood by her. Then came him, Mark. Smooth words, pressed shirts, eyes always scanning for weakness. The first time he shook my hand, I knew. He measured me. He saw not a father, but a man nearing the edge of usefulness. It started small. He cut me out of conversations, turned my advice into jokes at the dinner table. My daughter laughed nervously, always torn between us. Then the dinners grew less frequent, the calls shorter, until finally the day came when she chose him, and I became too much. I left quietly. But silence isn't surrender. I didn't scream, didn't beg. I carried my shame with the same steady hands I once carried her. And when the sting settled, I began to think. Not about forgiveness, about leverage. Mark worked in real estate. I knew that. He bragged about it enough at every gathering. Location is everything. Buy dirt cheap, rent high. He thought he was clever. He thought the system was his playground. I made it mine. First step, research. Nights spent in the public library, scrolling property records, tax filings, mortgage debts. Coffee in cracked mugs, notes scribbled in margins. I traced ownership, management companies, rental listings. And then I found it. Her building. Not owned by some faceless giant. No, it was small time, an aging landlord ready to retire, sick of chasing late rent in leaky pipes. The numbers weren't kind. The timing was perfect. I cashed in everything. The small pension, the savings I'd guarded since her childhood. I sold what I didn't need, cut down to bare bones. Every sacrifice sharpened me. 3 months, that's all it took. 1 meeting, 1 signature, 1 transfer of ownership. And suddenly, I wasn't just her father. I was her landlord. I didn't reveal it right away. That's not how control works. No, I let them settle. Let them feel safe in their little nest. Until the first notice arrived. Official, typed, stamped. The law allowed it. The market justified it. And their faces. God, I wish I could have seen them when they opened that envelope. Panic tastes sweeter when it's silent, unseen. Mark called the landlord's office furious. He didn't know it was me. His threats met polite indifference. His bargaining shut down by policy. He raged. My daughter cried. Their laughter dried up. The next month came. Another bill. Higher. Legal fees for maintenance, late penalties stacking. He tried moving, couldn't afford it. Tried breaking lease, penalties bled him dry. Every path was a minefield. I had them trapped. Finally, the day came. I scheduled an inspection, mandatory by lease. I knocked, clipboard in hand, the new landlord in plain sight. When my daughter opened the door, her face drained of color. She whispered my name like it was both a plea and a curse. Mark stood behind her, jaw tight, eyes wide with the realization. He understood instantly. I didn't gloat, didn't raise my voice. I walked through their apartment, noting cracks in the walls, dripping taps, the smell of unwashed dishes. Every mark I made on that clipboard was a nail in his coffin. "Your rent is late," I said calmly, meeting his stare. "You'll need to catch up before next month, or eviction proceedings begin." Silence. Her eyes begged me. His fists clenched. But I was unmoved. I left the building with the same steady steps I left her house months ago. But this time, the weight on my shoulders wasn't shame. It was power. For weeks after, I heard whispers from tenants, Mark scrambling for side jobs, my daughter pawning jewelry, arguments echoing through thin walls. The proud husband reduced to a beggar in his own home. That was my justice. Do I regret it? No. Regret is for the weak, for those who forgive betrayal without balance. She chose him. She cast me aside for comfort, for convenience. I simply showed her what it feels like to be discarded by someone holding all the cards. Now, every time they hand over rent, they hand it to me. Every.